Toji Fushiguro. Introduced in the Gojo flashback arc, Toji quickly became one of my favorite characters. His cool design, unique fighting style, his abs. There are just many things to love about him. Although there is a lot of appreciation for him online, I don't think many people realize that Toji is actually the most important character in all of Jujutsu Kaisen. Without him, the series would be completely different. So here's the story of the man who broke the chains of fate and left it all behind. Before we get started, I just wanted to say thank you for the nice comments on my last video. It really means a lot to me. So Toji, to understand what makes Toji so important to the story, even though he died years before the series even started, we have to understand what made him the man he was. There are 3 big sorcerer families in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. The Gojo clan, where you know who comes from, the Kamo clan, where this guy from season 1 comes from, and the Zenin clan, where Maki, Mai and Toji come from. Speaking of Maki, the heavenly restriction mentioned in season 1 that Maki and Makamaru have, Toji also had. He, just like Maki, did not have any cursed energy, nor could he see cursed spirits, which made it impossible for him to exercise curses without using tools. If you remember in season 1, Maki and Mai were shunned by their clan because of their so-called weakness. Thing is, the Zenin are very sexist. They live in a patriarchy. So when 2 women can't combat cursed spirits, like, yeah, that sucks, but they can get married off and be housewives. As it sounds, that's how the Zenins operate. They are very military orientated. Acquiring as many cursed techniques as possible is their top priority. So when a man is born without a cursed technique, without cursed energy, without even the ability to see spirits, he is seen as an absolute zero. But they still feared him. He was capable of fighting on par with any sorcerer. Shunned, hated and abused at a young age, Toji grew up into a wreck of a man. He left the Zenin family with a burning hatred, seeing them as nothing more than fart-smelling, self-serving, cursed technique-obsessed scum. Now an unstable gambling addict, Toji slept from woman to woman, leeching off of him for money, and taking up the job and title of sorcerer killer. This unstable lifestyle lasted up until he met a woman, who he'd later marry and have a child with, that being Megumi. After he met her, Toji became a lot calmer and stabler, and as much as I want to tell you that they lived happily ever after, we both know this bliss can't last. Shortly after Megumi was born, his mother died, and Toji returned to his former self, abandoning his son. Which leads us to Toji's introduction in the manga. Toji's introduced as a cold-hearted gambler who'd even forget the name of his only son. But throughout the story, we see that this couldn't be further from the truth. He was hired to kill the star plasma vessel, Riko Amenai, protected by you-know-who and Suguru Geto. For anyone else, such a task would be insanity, but in this fight, we see why Toji was so feared. The way he meticulously plans out the assassination and carries it through is simply astounding. He walked through both Gojo and Geto like it was nothing. And as he says himself, all these kids, with their great curse techniques, were killed by a mere monkey. But this right here, the moment Toji Fushiguro kills Riko Amenai, is the single most important moment in all of Jujutsu Kaisen. This action carved the path for the antagonist to carry out his goals. If Toji hadn't killed Riko, the story of Jujutsu Kaisen would have never happened, and that's because of fate. Fate binds 3 things in the world together: Master Tengen, the star plasma vessel, and the 6 eyes. All 3 of these are connected by fate, and they will always coexist. That was, at least, until someone intervened. Someone who broke free of the chains of fate, Toji Fushiguro. He isn't tied to cursed energy. He's an anomaly of the world. He shouldn't even exist according to the laws of nature. And yet he still does. Or rather did. After successfully completing his mission, Toji normally would just go on to celebrate with a fancy dinner. But before him stood a dead man walking. His mission was only to kill the star plasma vessel, so there shouldn't be any reason for him to fight Gojo again, but uncharacteristically for Toji, he does. Even when all his instincts tell him to flee, he still decided to stand his ground. Why though? Well, for two reasons. Hate and love. He hates Gojo. He represented everything he hates about sorcerers, their families, and the Jujutsu world in general. Gojo is the pinnacle of the Jujutsu world. If Toji were to kill this pinnacle, all his beliefs would be validated, and all the sorcerer families would have to respect Toji for the strength he possesses. And two, his love for Megumi. The reason why Toji left Megumi in the first place was because he knew he wouldn't be a good father to him. Someone like him, a gambling addict, abuse victim, and straight up murderer, would never be able to be a good parent. So, the most logical thing to him was to sell Megumi off to the Zenin. Not to make a quick buck off him, no. He knew that the Zenin family wasn't a good place for someone like him. But for Megumi, someone with potential, it wouldn't be so bad. He even made a deal with the head of the family, that in case Gojo Satoru is incapacitated or killed, Megumi would become the next head of the family. And so, even when faced with the infinite strength of Gojo, he tried to kill him, not only for himself, but also for his son that he loves so. A quick note at the end here, if you're still listening to this, thanks. Thanks.